Welcome. I'm Jeff.
I'm John.
And this is Love and Other Investments. We're going to talk about investments today.
Yeah, we're going to talk about kind of investing in the relationship.
Yeah, but I thought maybe we would talk about, first we'd talk about date night.
It's a good idea.
It's generally a good idea, I agree.
You've
been on some dates with your wife?
I do.
Do you have a date night?
We used to have Monday night was our date night, especially when the kids were young.
Yeah.
We're getting close to a full-fledged empty nest.
Oh, yeah.
I can see the exit
Yeah.
ahead.
Uh-huh.
My blinker's about to go on.
Uh-huh.
There's moments where I can hold two views here. I'm going to miss all of the stuff that went along with the activity.
Right.
But at the same time, kind of looking forward to the next chapter and a little bit more time with my wife and I together.
Yeah.
But yeah, especially when the kids were young, because there was never, if we didn't make time for it, it wouldn't happen. Because there was just so much going on with three kids, just so much going on all the time, between, work and activities, and, groups with our church and, hanging out with friends there.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those were good things to do, but they weren't time just Kelly and I.
Yeah, there's something really, really important about having that moment, even if it's just an hour, especially when your kids are little, if you have kids, and the chaos of life has descended upon you, just having an hour to sit and have a meal or have a conversation and kind of reconnect.
I think we people go, well, how's that an investment? I mean, we kind of get it, but I want to even deconstruct it a little bit further. The reason that we invest is we assume there's going to be a day where we need more resources, a bigger pool of resources than what we currently have to solve a problem that will be in the future. Mm-hmm. If you're investing for retirement, you're saying, hey, there's going to be a day theoretically where we don't get a paycheck and we need to be ready for that.
Yeah.
And I think life is the exact same way. There's going to be long stretches of monotonous day-to-day, and those will be occasionally interrupted by, fun things, but they will also occasionally be interrupted by crisis.
Sure.
Uninvited, unplanned, unwanted crisis. And so, what in the world does date night have to do with investing for those moments?
Yeah. I think about this in addition to the way you're just describing in another way, which is that the local scene, the local moment of, say you're in your 30s and you have two kids that are little, and life is hard, right? You're trying to figure out career moves. You're devoted to spending time going to the stuff, at school with your kids or whatever. And there's so much activity. But when a crisis occurs at that moment, even if it's just a small one, you need time with your partner right then to solve that problem. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean date night is necessarily like a thing where you have to spend time solving problems, but I do mean it's sort of like filling up your gas tank, right? You need enough gas in the tank in order to be getting somewhere. And if you don't have date night, you're not recharging, right? You're not sort of getting your tank full every time. So I like how you said it before, like this is an investment over the long term, but I also think it's an investment in the short term too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's something special about being in a space where it's just the two of you, where you're not interrupted by outside forces or existing routines. Having a conversation while you're doing dishes, having a conversation while you're cleaning out the garage, having a 3-minute conversation before you go to sleep at night. Those are all great, but they are not the same as being in a confined, segregated space where the barriers are down and it's just the two of you, and you're not just taking a quick time out between two events.
Right.
It's actual time to kind of
intentional
conversation. And it allows for, not just the, hey, we need to solve X and Y. Okay, what do you think? Okay, that'll work. It's why. And what's this going to lead to? And what do you, does this make you nervous? And
Yeah. How do you feel about it?
How do I feel about it? And I this makes me think of 4 or 5 other things that I'm really, having a hard time carrying at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're saying something that's really important, maybe small, but so important, I think, which is these little moments on date night where you're spontaneously, maybe not even intentionally all the time, having conversations about what's going on now or what might be going on in the future. They allow you and your partner to imagine a life together. You're knitting together little pieces of things that you're looking forward to and anticipating. And even when that's in problem-solving form, you're building a life together in those little conversations. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that is really important about relationships is that your partner hopefully is your best friend. Hanging out with them is hopefully something you really enjoy. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying you can't be irritated at your partner or, you know what I mean? Like, I get that, you don't necessarily want to hang out with your best friend all the time. But there's a certain kind of joy that comes from hanging out with your best friend without the demands of kids or work or church or whatever other things that are on your mind, just having like real conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I think of, the following sentences as things that come out on our date nights a lot, which is, it'd be a lot of fun if we could, you know what I'm really looking forward to?
Yes.
Or, what we should do after this is over? Or, it would be great. I know we're planning on this, that, and the other, and, it's a lot to get through, but what's going to happen after that? And I think it's what you're talking about is we're kind of putting goals out there that we're both working towards.
Yeah.
And we're kind of laying out this rope that we both have to pull on,
right,
in order to have some success. And we recognize the inputs of the other person in that success. Right. And, we're a team. And, isn't it great that we're a team and not having to figure this out by ourselves?
Yeah. And I think that scenario you're just describing is necessary for when other things come up. You have a sick kiddo, or a parent is on death's door, or even a financial crisis, you lost a job or whatever. You need to be able to have those moments where you feel close and connected to your partner, and you're imagining things together for your future to buoy you when things are hard.
And there needs to be a rhythm to it. It can't just be, hey, things are all falling apart, we need to get together and, fix it. There needs to be a rhythm to it so that sometimes date nights are going to happen when there's nothing to talk about.
Yes.
Because those are, quite honestly, some of the best.
Best, yes.
Because if we're not talking about anything that's really disruptive in the present, if we're not trying to process something, in the past and how to feel about it, that leaves us with the future, which again is the opportunity that you're talking about.
Right.
And, we used to do a Monday night, which was weekly. Obviously, it comes every week.
Yeah.
And I would say that probably 3 out of 4 weeks we pulled it off.
Yeah.
And it was really beneficial, beneficial to the relationship.
Thing. Yeah.
And, now that, like I say, we're getting closer to empty nesting, we've got, still as many things pulling us in as many directions as we had before. I wouldn't say that we've been as good at it, but boy, we do recognize, hey, let's stop what we're doing. Who cares if it's Sunday night or Thursday afternoon?
Sure. It's kind of sacred time, really.
Yeah. You recognize the importance of getting together outside of all of the spaces where the stress is.
I can imagine someone listening right now who's maybe early 30s and has a few kids and a tough job, and their partner has a tough job too, having a counter argument to what we're saying right now. Like just saying, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I have no time. From the moment I wake up, there is not a single break in my day. And how would I ever be able to allocate, a couple hours on a Monday night, let's say, or any night to hang out with my partner? And I remember being that age and feeling that way sometimes. And being overwhelmed by the demands,
Right.
of a young family trying to make a living, just trying to scratch by, and I think I would still say to my younger self, do what you did, make the time, carve it out. This is an investment, like you were saying before, a long-term investment in something bigger than what's happening right now.
Yeah. What do you have to cancel to make it happen?
Yeah.
I mean, and don't be broad and say I'm busy. No, what would you physically need to cancel in order to make it happen?
And
will you really miss it?
Who do you need to get to watch your kids?
Yeah.
Because I think that's a big barrier, especially with little kids. It's hard to find someone that, if you don't have family nearby, lots of people don't.
Right.
Who are you going to have come over, and who are you going to trust your kids around? That's not a small thing. So the investment, I think, involves
logistics,
a lot of logistics, and it might take time to set that up,
right?
To find someone, to go through the process of vetting them, to figure out whether, what you can afford with respect to paying them, or if you're not paying them and it's a friend, do you feel comfortable with that friend?
How do you reciprocate that? Does that,
yes. How does it work out?
So we do this in a lot of areas of life. As you were talking, I was kind of thinking about, times where I haven't been exercising. And I noticed that I get a lot more tired at the end of the day. I don't have the same energy level. And, I've got that voice in my head that says you've got to find time to exercise because you will be more productive, even losing 5 hours a week because you're going to be working out or exercising or walking or whatever it's going to be. I'm going to give up some time to pick up some productivity. And I know it's true. It's a paradox, right?
Right.
I get more done if I have less time.
Yeah.
That can't possibly, no, it is true.
If you want to get something done, give it to someone who's busy, that idea.
Yes. Yeah. And so there are things that make you better that mess with your schedule.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make it not true. So, if you're tired at the end of the day, if you're cranky, at the end of the week, if the last thing you want to do is spend more time with your spouse, then probably the thing that you really need to do is carve out some time to spend with your spouse.
Yeah, right. Hopefully they want to spend time with you.
Yeah. But, anyway, here we are, a couple of white guys about to be old white guys. I'm not sure what the cutoff is, but it's
I'm feeling pretty old.
Yeah. So, we're in our mid 50s and, looking back at these things and, hopefully people can hear this and go, they wouldn't trade that. There's not a thing that I wish I'd replaced that with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I would say, as an investment, it's a big one. It's a big one because it really helped my spouse and I stay on the same page. And then as we aged and as the kids aged, it helped us change the page. It helped us adjust to what was next.
Sure.
And helped us kind of, with the, you use your GPS and it says recalculating, right?
Right.
In a lot of ways, that's what those date nights were. It was our opportunity to kind of recalculate and figure out, okay, we've made it to Monday night, what's next?
Yeah.
And how are we going to do it?
Yeah.
And what did we learn?
And I really liked for our kids to see us doing that. Even though they may or may not have liked the babysitter or whoever was going to, whatever the activity was they were doing while we were out for a couple hours. I think it was meaningful that they saw a relationship where the partners valued it and took time apart to take care of themselves and the relationship. When they're 10 or 15 or whatever, they're not reflecting on that in the same way that they do now. But I noticed they make comments about it now. Sort of us setting an example for what it might look like to have, one part of a relationship go well. It's meaningful.
And I want to make a plug here for unintended consequences that are sometimes beneficial. You think you're just working on your relationship. You think you're just, investing in, being on the same page. This couldn't possibly have anything to do with our financial success. It does.
Say more. What do you mean?
So the more united a couple is on who they are and how tight they are and how connected they are and how much trust they have in each other, and what it is they're trying to accomplish, which is some of the things that come out of those date nights inadvertently, the better they are at utilizing their resources, the better they are at sharing.
I think this is a really important point. You and I have been talking about the idea forever that if you have shared values, if you have common values, that this helps to point people in a financial direction, right? Like you can say the things that are more important than money are the things that we value, and therefore the resource of money and time and energy and love and all of that are going to be funneled into those common things that we have. We've been saying that forever.
And so what I'm saying is that inadvertently, when you're doing things that are enjoyable for the relationship, you're also
that's right.
Surprisingly working on these core values. You're working on your shared language about those values. You're looking at the progress that you're making. You're weighing the options going forward of how you're going to invest in those things. You're inadvertently finding efficiencies. All of those things are happening in the background that are setting you up to make good financial decisions that you'll execute the next week, that you won't inherently tie to that date night, but it will improve your success.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe there's a causal relationship, but if not, it's still very correlational. Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely right. I think we have to be thinking about, when we're talking about investing in the relationship, date night is one investment, one kind of investment. Sure. There are other kinds, but we're talking about investing, that we think about the whole picture, but also so important what you just said, which is that there are going to be unintended consequences, or maybe intended but sort of hidden consequences to things like date night or other investments you might make. And those things are powerful for us because they shore up the friendship, right? The connection that you have.
Right.
And that's, the bottom line. I think that's it. Right? Like we're talking about love.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, stay tuned for another episode. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.